Hello and welcome to the Random Wrestling Reviews WWE 2026 TEW series. There was a lot of initials to say out loud all in one go. And this is the latest episode in this series, the Brave New World series that we've been doing now for a fair few weeks. I think this is episode 10, is it? I'm not certain, but I think it's about that. And today we're bringing you Over the Limit, the latest show in the calendar. The May show for the men's division is taking place. And we've got a bit of news to bring you. In fact, quite a lot of news. We're going to be bringing you, as always, the tour results for the Over the Limit tour, plus some happenings that have gone on in terms of the business aspect of things. Just as a refresher for those of you perhaps who haven't seen this before or have forgotten somehow, this is a different style of WWE 2026 where basically the company is a touring company, so works very, very similar in terms of at least its schedule, like as a Japanese promotion, but also that we have two separate rosters. They're no longer Raw and SmackDown. They are men and women. So you have a men's roster and a women's roster, and they each run individual shows throughout the year at the conclusion of the tour that they are involved in. And as I said, this one is Over the Limit. The other thing to point out, and I don't know if I've said this too many times or even at all. I'm pretty sure I've said it once, but we don't have heels or baby faces in this save either. That concept has been thrown out with the rubbish. There's probably a degree of sort of heel and baby face that you can kind of just decide for yourself who they are, but in general there isn't really the same level of differentiation between those two as in WWE today. So let's get to the latest tour, shall we? Because we've had a 7-day tour for Over the Limit since Backlash, of course, which was our last episode, and saw Julia defeat Charlotte Flair to win the women's Intercontinental title and the women's US title. So basically unifying those belts in the main event of Backlash in a show that was actually not too bad and would have been even better if the proper main event, Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill, had actually gone on last. But I made a mistake and I didn't have the faith in Jade Cargill that I should have had, and ultimately she put in a pretty good performance against Rhea Ripley. But we're back with the men, as I say today, and this has been a bumpy ride of a tour, it's got to be said. So let's go through this, shall we? First of all, night one was actually a pretty good night of action. As you can see, the main event did a 76 rating as the Usos took on Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. But it also on the show, after winning a trios match, the Impact Generation, that is AJ Styles, Chris Sabin, and Alex Shelley, the latest stable in this new look WWE, were attacked by American Alpha. I've called them American Alpha. Actually, it's American made, isn't it? Of course, the Chad Gable stable. That's Chad Gable and the Creed brothers attacked the Impact Generation after they'd beaten the Wyatt Six in a trios match. We also saw the War Raiders defeat Fraxium and then being officially announced as the newest members of the Warriors. We did actually kind of initiate them into that stable on the last episode or 2 episodes ago, sorry, but we didn't really make it that clear. But they are now within the Warrior faction. And finally, as I said, the Usos defeated Cody and Randy in a tag team match when Jacob Fatu helped them to win with outside interference. On day two of the tour, this was not a particularly eventful night, but in particular of particular note, I suppose, Obafemi and Lexis King went to a double countout with Rusev and Ludwig Kaiser, and after after the match, the two teams had to be separated, kind of reigniting the feud that saw Randy Orton against Gunther for a number of months, but this time now with their respective stables. Gunther obviously with the European Union, and Randy Orton with Evolution 2.0. Now, on night three, we were in Mexico for the second night in a row, and this was a pretty disastrous event. As you can see, the main event did a 49 rating, despite it having Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton in the match. But we also, I mean, we did have some good stuff on the show, but ultimately the show rating was so poor that it actually lost us popularity in all of the key American regions and sent our size as a company down to medium, from huge to medium. So we completely skipped big and went down to medium. And that's because this affected our core popularity of our core audience in the US. We'll get to all that in a little bit of time. But before we do that, let's concentrate on the happenings from night three. Because first of all, Otis returned to action after a long spell of injury, and he and Tozawa won in tag team contest against Uncle Howdy and Eric Rowan. We also saw Sheamus and the New Catch Republic win a trios match, then look to forge a new alliance after the match. And then finally, CM Punk cut a promo on Jey Uso saying that Roman couldn't get the job done at Mania, so why does Jey think that Little Cuz can do it better? And that was kind of Punk's latest promo as he heads towards a title match against Jey Uso at Over the Limit, the main event of that particular show. So on day 4 of the tour, we saw Sheamus say that now he has some backup. How about the Vision face them in a 6-man tag match? So Sheamus obviously has been in a feud with the Vision really since the start of the year, and Sheamus and the New Catch Republic have come together. They are the new incarnation, if you like, of the Brawling Brutes. And Sheamus challenges the Vision to a trios match at Over the Limit now that he's got some backup. We also saw the Lucha Brothers defeat the Judgment Day, Dominic Mysterio and Damian Priest, in a match. And afterwards, the Judgment Day tried to ambush the Lucha Brothers, but the rest of the LWO ran to the ring and saw them off. And we, in a show of strength here, really, as the Lucha Brothers, as the Judgment Day try and take advantage of the Lucha Brothers, but they are massively outnumbered now, with the LWO numbering 9 members. So on to night 5 of the tour, and first of all, it was announced prior to the show that the War Raiders will face the Street Profits at Over the Limit for the tag team titles. We also saw the New Day defeat Alpha Academy in tag action with help of the interfering Grayson Wallace. The New Day defeated Otis and Tozawa. After the match, Chad Gable came out to speak to the losers and said that this is the reality of the new WWE, and since Otis has been away, things have changed, possibly for the worse for them. He then offers them a place in American Alpha. I keep saying American Alpha, it is American made. He offers them a place in American made to rejoin them, and says that you will graduate finally the American Alpha, the Alpha Academy. Goodness, I cannot get my name. You've got the American Alpha, you've got American Made, you've got Alpha Academy, and it's just messing me up massively. Finally, Cody Rhodes challenges any member of the Bloodline to face him at Over the Limit, and Jacob Fatu emerges to accept the challenge. So that match is now official as well for Over the Limit. In addition to Punk versus Uso for the title, we've got Cody Rhodes versus Jacob Fatu. Then on the 6th day of the tour, with Penta and Dominic Mysterio set to have a rematch at Over the Limit for the Intercontinental title, Penta made a suggestion that before the match, there would be no LWO, no Judgment Day, just them, mano a mano for the big match. Nakamura then won a singles contest against Apollo Crews when Drew McIntyre ran in for the disqualification. After the match, Drew McIntyre and Apollo Crews looked like they were about to attack Nakamura, but Konosuke Takeshita showed up to run off the heels once more, and then he and Drew McIntyre squared up to one another. Drew backed off, smiling, and pointed to his head as if to say that he's smarter than that. Then on the final night of the tour, we saw Randy Orton cut a promo telling Gunther that the last time they met in the ring, Orton was alone. Now he has Evolution by his side. And then also we crowned the first ever WWE Hawaii title. Now I'm going to explain this a little bit, because what I want to do here, I'm finding the process of booking so many tour dates really, really hard. One of the reasons is that I'm struggling to get any momentum when I'm booking them, because I'm booking so many multi-man tag matches that I'm trying hard to try and remember what ones I haven't done in the past, just to keep, I think, just to keep a degree of variety, even though obviously they're being shown to different audiences each evening. And so I wanted something to give me an easy booking thing to do for every show. And so I'm going to do, for every region of the US and possibly other regions throughout the world, I'm going to crown a champion, which is going to mean we got loads and loads of titles and loads of champions. But actually, it's just, they're going to all be like tertiary titles, really low level titles, but just something for them to fight at on tour shows when they're in those regions. So they're not even going to be really something that I would expect to be televised on the tour highlights packages. They're just for the local audience each time. So Obafemi won that battle royal and won the WWE Hawaii title in a pretty good match actually. And then afterwards, the Evolution celebrated with him. Of course, Evolution being Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, Obafemi, and Lexis King. So that was the tour. Now on to the news. As I said, we did go down to medium size, and this is all because of this situation and that disastrous night in Mexico where we lost popularity in so many of the regions that we went from huge leapfrog big entirely, went to medium. Now obviously we've got no problems with staying in medium, and it does help me a little bit for two reasons. First of all, it's now clear that the owner goal that I had set to me, which is this one, WWE must not have fallen below huge sides when the time expires, obviously means just where we should be on Friday, 18th of August 2028. So we've got loads of time to either get back to that point or ultimately for this series to no longer exist. So that is now a much less important thing to me than it was, in the last episode. What it also means is actually our storylines no longer need to be quite as good as they have previously been. So where previously a storyline like this, where I had very 61 heat, would be kind of cold, possibly even really cold, is now very hot because we're two sizes smaller. So it does make my life a little easier, if I'm honest, but I would like to recover us back up to big and back up to huge in the not too distant future, because that's where we started. And ultimately, it does somewhat suggest failure at this point in the save. Whatever the case, Over the Limit is tonight. We're going to cut right now, and then when we come back, obviously straight away we will be bringing you Over the Limit. Okay, then here we are at the Princeton Stadium in the tri-state area, and it's Over the Limit. And we begin with Impact Generation, AJ Styles, Alex Shelley, and Chris Sabin against American-made Chad Gable, Brutus Creed, and Julius Creed. And this one did a segment rating of 69, a very good way to start the show off indeed. Chad Gable, Brutus Creed, and Julius Creed get the victory when Chad Gable pins Alex Shelley following interference from Otis. Of course, Otis and Akira Tozawa have just joined American Made after being offered the place by Chad Gable during the last tour. And so they get the victory here. Once again, Chad Gable getting the better of AJ Styles. Good opener, this, no doubt about it. So next up, in front of the 27,800 people at this show, it's the Warriors, Drew McIntyre and Apollo Crews against Shinsuke Nakamura and Konosuke Takeshita. This is a continuation of the feud between Drew and Konosuke Takeshita. And the victory goes to the Japanese duo when Takeshita pins Apollo Crews with a touchdown. Crews was the weak link, unsurprisingly, although Nakamura wasn't a huge amount better, but Drew, and then, of course, Takeshita at 70, easily the best performer in this match. But a match that continued this as a good show so far. Next up, a six-man tag match as Evolution 2.0 took on the European Union. Another match continuing a feud as Randy Orton and Gunther have been kind of involved with each other really since the start of the year. And in this one, Obafemi gets the pin on Aleister Black with a fall from grace. You can tell I am going in very hard with Obafemi. Look, we need new stars. WWE needs to build new stars, and that's what we're trying to do here. So Obafemi is the one who picks up the victory, pinning Aleister Black. He did an in-ring rating of 65, so he's already performing really well. Gunther a 74, Randy Orton a 69, Dragunov a 62. And I've made an error in my booking here. I thought that I had not booked Ilya Dragunov in this match, but I did, and that is going to cause a problem in just a moment, and you're going to find out why, because I booked an additional match. Dragunov is going to be exhausted. That's all I'm going to say. In fact, here it is right up next. Dragunov against LA Knight, a 20-minute time limit match. Yeah, just ignore Dragunov in the last match. Let's just pretend it was Rusev or Ludwig Kaiser in the last match, along with Gunther and Aleister Black. But here, Ilya Dragunov goes to a 20-minute time limit draw with LA Knight. But they didn't click, which made for an awkward bout, which means this was really poor. A 57 rating match here. I was hoping this would be a decent little mid-card feud, but obviously, given that they don't click, I think we're going to knock it on the head pretty quickly. Maybe bury a match between the two in a tour show coming up in the next month. I don't know. We will see. But anyway, 57 rating between these two, and also a lovely extra mistake in terms of the booking for me. So we then go with the Street Profits versus the War Raiders, a tag team title match, and Montez Ford pins Eric with a pop-up spine buster and frog splash. The Street Profits make defense number 2 of the World Tag Team titles. They've overcome the challenge of the War Raiders. Montez Ford did a 62 here, Angelo Dawkins of 55. A pretty good match, this one, with a segment rating of 64. Then I think I've missed something out as well here. Oh my goodness, this is all over the place. Yeah, this is definitely all over the place. Apologies. So anyway, up next, Dominic Mysterio versus Penta for the Intercontinental title. I really have to apologize. I really have messed this whole show up. I was trying to be clever with the match order, and I've clearly kind of put stuff out of order that I thought I had in the right place. Anyway, Dominic Mysterio retains his title again here for the 12th time, defeating Penta in 14 minutes and 50 with a frog splash, following interference from Joe Gacy. Now, you'll remember that Penta and Dominic Mysterio made an agreement that neither the LWO or the Judgment Day could get involved in this one, would be banned from ringside. Well, it was Joe Gacy who came in, who was not a member of the Judgment Day, who attacked Penta and helped Mysterio win this match and retain his title. And Penta did an in-ring performance of 49, and Dominic only a 61, and Dominic was off his game. So this still did pretty well, given it was a second round of 64. But Penta would have thought would be better than that, so that's a disappointment as well. Uh, no, we're gonna handle this. This is changing Joe Gacy's gimmick. He's now got a badass gimmick to go with his joining, seemingly here, the Judgment Day. And following the match, we have a big old brawl where, well, no, that's not what happens. I don't have a big old brawl. Sorry. Apologies again. Goodness me, this is a disaster so far, this episode. What happens here is that after the match, infuriated by the fact that Joe Gacy's got himself involved, Dragon Lee, Rey Fenix, Rey Mysterio, and Santos Escobar run to the ring to go after the pair, but Mysterio and Gacy scarper and run away through the crowd. A segment rating of 55. Then this is supposed to be what followed the earlier match between the War Raiders and the Street Profits. This is a brawl broke out after that match. Again, you'll just have to pretend that's in that spot. I have completely messed up the match order, and that's why this has happened. Apologies. The rest of the show should be fine, but I really feel quite embarrassed actually by this. It's gotten a little bit silly, but this was a good brawl at least. The segment ran at 63, and the Street Profits and War Raiders storyline has advanced here. And then Brawling Brutes take on the Vision in a six-man tag match. Bronson Reed, Bron Breakker, and Austin Theory get the victory over Sheamus, Pete Dunne, and Tyler Bate in 12:49 when Bron Breakker pins Pete Dunne with a Gorilla Press Power Slam. So despite having backup now, Sheamus still can't get the job done against the Vision, who defeat him and his partners. Bron Breakker 65 here. Bronson Reed is 61. Sheamus actually down to a 57. We have treated him a little bit poorly in terms of his booking lately. We've been trying to really put over the likes of Bron Breakker, and that seems to be paying off. A rating here of 65, but it's come at a cost for Sheamus. Then the big two main events still to come, and the first of those is Cody Rhodes versus Jacob Fatu. A really good match. This an 80 rated match. 15 minutes and 58 seconds in length. Cody Rhodes wins with the triple crossroads, and Cody does an in-ring performance of 77 with Jacob Fatu on 72. Very, very nice indeed. Of course, these two have been in the feud as Evolution has been created in the last few months. And then the main event, CM Punk versus Jey Uso for the world title, is another 80 rated match. CM Punk makes his second defense of the Undisputed title. He did an in-ring performance of 80. Jey Uso just a 69, so Uso a little bit below him. And still a very good match, but perhaps not quite as good as we'd have liked in the end, but a pretty decent title match here with CM Punk picking up his second defense of that title. So overall, that would have been a better show had I first of all not messed up all the had I not messed up all of the the order of the show. I don't know what happened. I had the show set up. I then decided to add another match, and then thought, oh, I can move stuff around. And then when I did that, I just clearly didn't pay attention to the rest of the ordering of the show, which I thought I had done, but obviously I had not. Anyway, the show did an overall rating of 77. Two really excellent matches here. It'll be interesting to see where they sit in our top 100 matches of all time. And I think for that, CM Punk deserves praise for a great performance. We'll give Cody a similar compliment. And I'm wondering who else to give the compliment to, because there was actually, you know what? I think he's getting there already. Actually, no, Gunther was very good in that match. Let's give him a compliment. So those are the three men who received compliments here. Obviously, money continues to be no object whatsoever in this game. And the media scrum, which you know I love. By all counts, morale in WWE seems good. Do you take credit for that? I do my part, but we work with a lot of great people. How concerned are you by the off night that Dominic Mysterio had? I'm sure that it was a one-off. Apparently, Rey Mysterio has taken on Javon Evans as his new protege. Is this something you will be beneficial? I think Javon will definitely benefit. You have two workers, AJ Styles and Axiom, who really don't like each other. Are you planning to address this? I'm going to keep that there. Didn't go down well with the locker room and made matters worse between AJ Styles and Axiom. Great. Over the Limit 2026 is being considered a success. How do you feel? I'm delighted that it went so well. The owner of AEW is Tony Khan. Do you have any comments about him? I don't really know him, so I can't comment. There we go. That's how we're ending things. Post show complete. That is done. Over the Limit is in the books. Not the best episode. It was a good show, actually, the quality of the show, but the episode, my end of things, really didn't hold up. So I apologize for that to our listeners and viewers today. Um, and yeah, hopefully I'll be back on track. I've had a little bit of illness the last week, and I think I'm blaming it on that at least for why this episode's been a little bit, troublesome at times. But anyway, we'll be back next week. We are back with the women, of course, because it is their turn to have a show. I believe it is Elimination Chamber, so that could be a good one. And then after that, the men are due to do the King of the Ring, and I've got something pretty epic planned for the King of the Ring. So make sure you continue to follow along with this series by subscribing to the channel. Give us a subscribe, and if you've enjoyed today's episode, I'd be surprised because I've been awful today, but if you have, please give us a like. We'll catch you next time.